Welcome back, Lisa Rinna. I've missed you so much since your family packed their bags, loaded them in your mouth, and skipped town.
And does it match the blood you found inside Mr. Simpson's Bronco?
Yes, it's all from the same individual.
Then you mean all this time we could have been friends?
Judges your score.
Tell us what you don't like about yourself.
I'd like to go to Dreamland.
I'll take you there.
Who are you?
I'm Constance Langdon, and this is my fucking house.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Ryan Murphy Project, a twice weekly-ish podcast where we take a look at the life and career of one of TV's most prolific showrunners. I'm Eric Wilson. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Andrew Leon.
Whoa.
Threw you entirely through a loop.
Well, God, I'm thrown. Wait, when you say co-host, I'm co-producer.
No,
okay?
we're co-hosts.
So we're equal.
Yeah. You so worried about not being equal?
Yeah, well, I know you.
Listen, just because I get top billing, okay, does not mean...
She does get top billing. That's totally fine with me. I think Eric and Andrew sounds better, so... I'm so glad we're finally podcasting because America and other people who might be listening in other countries. We've just been talking for about 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's true.
We started doing this and we were like, la, la, la. Yeah. Well, because I walked into my office and...
Oh, we're going to get into this?
I found... should we? I don't know. You're the one that fucking mentioned the moths before.
That's true.
You know, I've never...
We got to bring it full circle. Today the story ends.
Today the story ends. I walked into the office and one of my moths had escaped the aquarium that I have them in, the cocoons that they're in right now, and I freaked out and I went on live randomly on Instagram. Live on Instagram is like stress.
Yeah,
that's all it seems like to me. But I'm gonna try it again.
Yeah. When you said I'm free?
Maybe probably when more hatched. This was the first one that came out. So, yeah. And it's funny, it's not the one that first cocooned either. She was just ready. So. You can follow more of this story at Mr. Andrew Leon on Instagram.
Light IG plug.
I know. But yeah, that's exciting. So then Eric and I were just gabbing about that. He was mostly listening.
Yeah.
Like that.
Welcome to another week. As we mentioned last week, for the next month, for the next 8 episodes, we will be doing 4 Glee episodes and 4 American Horror Story episodes, because those two are the most hefty load that we're taking on with this adventure. They have the most episodes.
Yeah.
So we're just going to, barrel through a few of these because, again, that was why we started this podcast, and we know that you guys like listening about Glee and American Horror Story, and we love talking about it. So, this week, we are on to episode 2 of season 1 of American Horror Story, entitled Home Invasion. It's written by Brad and Ryan, and it's directed by Alfonso Gomez-Reyon, who is, I think, the best American Horror Story director.
He
did a lot of 3.
Exactly, and a lot of 2 as well too.
But 3, I think, was the most beautiful.
Yeah, like the way that he shot that Coven house, like with the sweeping angles. I know. As soon as I saw his name on the credits, I was like, "Yes, it's so good."
I think we need to give him a lot of the credit for the style of American Horror Story, because it is shot very similar from season to season, and I think that's a lot of him. You know what I mean? As much
as he hasn't directed an episode in a while.
Yeah, but that style is still what it is. You know what I mean?
No,
he created that
for
style
sure.
that's carried on
for
without
sure.
him. So this is again, sorry.
I wish that he would.
Yeah.
I wish that he would. I totally agree with you.
He did. Okay, so I was just looking at I typed in his name to see what he's done, and he was purple. Like, I've clicked on him before. And I'm like, what did I look at him up before? He did Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl. He directed that, which is one of my favorite coming of age movies.
Okay.
Have you seen?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
We're not watching it for the podcast.
Okay. No, we don't have to. I watched it recently, actually. But he also did The Town That Dreaded Sundown, which was written...
we talked about this.
Produced by Ryan, which is what we'll watch that on the show as well. But he did a bunch of episodes of Glee. He did a bunch of episodes of American Horror Story in seasons 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then he didn't do any after that. I wonder if they had a falling
Freak Show just kind of like... Freak Show was like, all right.
he only did the second episode of Freak Show. I wonder if they had a falling out. Oh, drama, maybe?
Oh, drama. Maybe we should try to find out.
We need to get him on the
Sleep?
podcast.
Who do we need to sleep with
I know.
to get this information?
He was nominated for an Emmy for Outstanding Directing for a miniseries for episode 1 of season 3, which is what we talked about being one of the most beautiful episodes. So, or one of the most beautiful seasons. So, that checks out.
All right.
But let's get into this episode, Home Invasion. We open in 1968 at the murder house. Interior, murder house.
We have a first slow-mo 70s song in the background. Cute 60s girls walking down the American Horror Story murder house steps. And then they're like the original Chanel's. That's like kind of what I was like, okay, hey, Chanel's.
Yeah,
1960s Chanel's.
The murder house right now is being used as like housing for nursing students, it seems.
Yeah, I think so. Not a sorority, but
No.
college girls.
Yeah.
And they walk past a character, nerdy but hot girl, Maria, who is studying. They're like, do you want to go to this Jim Morrison concert? And she's like, no, I can't. I'm studying.
Yeah.
For anatomy or whatever. And they're like, okay, lesbian. And then leave.
Clearly you're a lesbian.
Sorry, I snorted. My bad. Hold on. How did that happen?
Wasn't that funny? You're all
When's the
worked up
last
from
time?
the moth.
I know, I need to calm down.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this message.
Don't you dare put this in.
Don't you dare go to commercial.
No, who snorts? Okay, I just wet my face because that's so funny.
Wow, that really took it out of you.
I just had a little bit left.
So they call her a lesbian. They're like the mean girls of the group. And then Gladys, another nurse, comes in and she sticks up for Maria. And then chases the mean girls away, and like they talk about having chlamydia or gonorrhea or something like that. So the girls leave for the concert, and Gladys and Maria. Is it her name, Maria? I forgot her name. I didn't write it down.
Maria, yeah.
So Gladys and Maria are watching TV, and they get a little bit of a scare. The girls, as they're leaving, they bang on the windows.
Oh yeah,
There's like a little bit of a jump scare. This is a good, like, very classic. I don't know, like a little. It felt like the opening to a horror movie. It was well shot. It was and it was good because this whole scene and the sequence is setting up what's to come later in the series. So you think it's just like a little history about the house, which it is, but it also doubles as a present day storyline.
Yeah, like this had a lot of like references. Or like maybe like mood to like Black Christmas or When a Stranger Calls. Sort of thing.
Yeah, I was getting Ted Bundy vibes.
Well, we'll talk about it because this guy who comes in is actually based off of a real killer. So they're hanging out studying, and then the doorbell rings, and then Maria goes to the door, and it's just like this tall guy saying like, hey, I need some help. I'm bleeding from my head. And Maria, being a nurse, is like, I know exactly what to do.
This is what I've been training for.
I know. She's like, come in, daddy. I don't know if she was a daddy. But so she's treating him, kind of cleaning off the blood. And then she's like, I can't find the source of the bleeding.
Yeah,
Boom,
there's no wound.
So then basically, he's a scary guy. And then he knocks both of them out.
Yeah. He smashes the one girl in the head with a ceramic bowl that was near the table. And then he throws Gladys to the ground. And we see that this guy is not, a nice guy, which you can kind of guess from the way he was standing outside.
Yeah.
So jokes on them. But yeah, I was getting Ted Bundy vibes because Ted Bundy did break into a sorority and kill a bunch of girls and stab them in the back like multiple times and stuff like that. So, but you said it was based on a real person?
Yeah, so I looked it up because I remember hearing that it was, and it's based off a real serial killer actually in Chicago. His name was Richard Speck. And he was a mass murderer who raped and tortured 8 student nurses in South Chicago Community Hospital, that. And that was in the July 13th, 1966.
Oh, well, same time.
So it's like, oh, okay. So this is like very much based upon that. So,
Yeah.
And then he went to trial and kind of weirdly got acquitted and stuff like that. So, and it's in Chicago. So, that's where I
Is he
live.
still there?
You know, no, he actually died of a heart attack.
Oh, that's good.
2000, whatever.
That's good.
But so then he's standing. So then cut to, well, I guess we should say, I want to say it's interesting to, because this isn't a very American Horror Story episode. There's like a lot of fastness to it.
Yeah.
So recapping it, I think is going to be interesting because then he knocks him out. Bam, cuts to him standing in front of Maria.
Yeah.
And somehow he changed his outfit.
Oh, did he? I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I think that he did. He didn't just take off a jacket. I feel like he was wearing all black or something. And before he looked like a normal guy.
Huh.
And so then she's on the couch. He kind of throws a nursing outfit onto her.
Yeah.
And he's
well,
like,
she was knocked out, and there was water dripping on her head that woke her up, which we later find out is from Gladys, who he drowned in the tub upstairs. So the tub overflowed, and that was what was dripping onto her head.
Yeah, no, you're right. So then she's like, I'm a virgin. I don't want to change in front of you. And he makes her change in front of her in like a really cringy, like really, hectic way. Bam, cut to another thing. She's like basically hogtied on the couch in the nurse's outfit. And you're just like, whew.
Yeah. It escalates quickly here.
Somehow they have like a conversation about Jesus, like in the middle of this. Like there's some like weird religion
Yeah, she starts
references.
praying, obviously, because she's scared. And he hears her, and he's so anti-God in his whole movement throughout the house, and he's God's not going to save you, and she says I've already been saved, and then she starts praying, and then she thinks she convinced him to like let her go through the power of God. And we're like close on her face, and then all of a sudden a knife comes in and just starts stabbing her in the back.
And then that was it.
That's the opening.
Wasn't even and then it cuts to basically Ben and Tate and their therapy session. And then I'm like, that didn't happen. That murder with Maria and Gladys, that didn't happen there. It happened in the living room.
Yes.
Right. Okay. I didn't know if they were like visually trying to say that.
Yeah.
There. Because I can't tell when I actually like tried to rethink about it. Yeah, because I can't tell the way.
No,
it was
I think
shot,
it was
like,
just
where
I think it was a different room. Yeah. So Tate and Ben are talking, and this is like Tate. Like I don't know how Ben sat through this scene and held his composure, but basically Tate is telling him how he jerks off to the image of Violet. He talks about fucking her and sensually describes it. And yes, it was hot. We love a good Evan Peters sex scene. But Ben stays in control. And Tate basically says he jerks off to make the visions go away, and keep them at bay. And he's just antagonizing Ben this entire scene. He also tells him that that Violet told Tate about his affair with the woman in Boston, who was no older than Violet, or only a few years older. So he's just antagonizing him, and then Ben says, "Okay, your time's up, bitch. Go home. We are done here." But yeah, somehow stayed in control that whole time.
Yeah, Ben did a really good job, and this is one of the times I noticed like how blue his eyes were, because and not
Important
just
facts.
because
Listen
he's
up, everybody.
So well, you know who I'm going to talk about, Baddies Addy, Ben. But so it's like really clear blue eyes are just kind of like staring down Tate at this whole time. But also his cell phone rings at some point during this. So unprofessional. But it's after Tate left. Yeah, he answers the phone saying, "You need to stop calling."
Yeah.
And then the woman on the other side of the phone says, "I'm pregnant." And I actually think this is when the intro happens.
Yeah.
Right? American Horror Story intro.
And so that's we find out that Ben got the girl who he slept with in Boston pregnant. More drama for Ben and Vivian after they just had sex and made up. Should we do a recap since we're doing the second episodes of these? Should we like last week on?
Oh, we should if we have the time.
I don't have the time.
We're like, I'm barely making.
Just catch up.
Right
Listen to the previous episode. That's what you got to do. Twice.
After
Give
the
us the
intro,
listens. Give us the downloads.
Watch twice. After the intro, we cut to a very fun, very Alfonso scene in my eyes, because it has this kind of like childish, feminine,
Light touch.
almost American.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the
whimsy.
background. And then we have Violet with the mean girl from the last episode.
Yeah.
And Violet's dressed like Violet, but Mean Girl is dressed like, dare I say, a caper. You know, she has that Carmen Sandiego hat draped on her, sunglasses, and they're in this sort of like very dark indoor skate park.
It's an empty out pool. It's an abandoned pool that's been emptied out.
Oh God, that's so cool.
So
it's
drama.
like so cool. Like, let's meet there to have this conversation. You know?
Yeah. So she's hiding her face because, as we saw last, she got scratched by the Infantada in the basement. And this whole incident has caused her to have like this mental breakdown. How she's like so calm with Violet is like, you know, why she would even meet with her again after what happened is confusing to me.
I think that too.
Like it just does that seems off because she's so scarred by what happened. To think that she would meet Violet again is kind of weird.
But maybe she's just like numb, and it just like makes sense to get over whatever bullshit, you know?
She's looking for answers. She's
traumatized, and her hair is turning white from fear too. Yeah. That's what she says.
She says she can't sleep. She told her family that she was attacked by a chola on Melrose who wanted her purse.
She did say that.
She did say that, little racist bitch. And she said what attacked her wasn't human.
And Violet's kind of like explaining it away. He's like, it was just Tate in a mask.
Yeah.
You know?
She's like, that wasn't Tate.
And Mean Girl knows that it wasn't, but Violet's kind of like, whatever. I mean, I'm sorry about your hair turning white. I
don't even think she said sorry. That was the other thing. I was like, is she going to apologize? Yeah. She doesn't even say sorry.
No, you're right. Because you don't believe her, but it's weird because she's kind of like a spooky girl. So, whatever.
Yeah, like, I mean, Violet saw it too, so she knows something happened. But the Mean Girl says,
do you believe in the devil? No. I do. I've looked into his eyes.
So the next thing we see is a night scene at the house. Tate is watching Violet sleep, so you know that's something. And then the house alarm goes off.
Very scary.
And then, were you scared?
I mean, it was jarring.
Yeah, that's a loud ass alarm. And then basically Ben gets out of bed. He is shirtless in this scene.
Yeah.
The only scene that he's shirtless, and he's very sweaty. Because he was just glistening. He must have been like hot sleeping.
Sure.
You know?
It's hot in that house. So it's where hell is, you know?
Well, true. It's always hot. So then he runs down the steps shirtless with a bat. And then I started thinking about the bat and like how sexy that was.
We should probably move on from that.
Anyways, and then when he's downstairs looking around, seeing if he could find anybody, the basement door opens. That's very creepy, very atmospheric. And he walks down and he finds Addie playing down there.
Yeah, but before he goes to the basement, anytime I'm like, yeah, but before, your face is like, what did I miss? Fuck you. You're so defensive.
It's like, what? I was paying attention.
He goes downstairs, turns the alarm off, and the front door is closed when he goes downstairs, but when he turns the alarm off and he turns the corner and comes back, the front door is open. Drama. And then the basement door opens. And then he finds Addie downstairs rolling a ball into the darkness that keeps coming back to her.
Yeah, she's giggling.
She's giggling. She's playing with a specter, if you will.
He's like, Addie, he's very chill. He's like, Addie, go home.
Yeah.
He's like,
Get the fuck out of my house.
Go home.
So he kicks Addie out, and Vivian went and called the police while all this was going on. So he goes upstairs, tells her you don't have to call the police. It was just Addie. And he does he make fun of her? What does he say about her? I don't know.
About Addie?
Yeah, he calls her something, and Vivian like freaks out. It's like, don't call her that.
It was only Addie. I'm gonna have someone come out and check all the windows and doors, though. If that little freak can get in, anyone can.
You shouldn't call her that.
Are you okay? You're shaking.
I haven't thrown up, Ben. When I was pregnant with Violet, I was sick all the time for 2 months straight. There's something wrong with this baby. I can feel it.
Oh, yeah.
And
then
Ben
he's like,
can
well,
tell
what's
she's
go-"
like kind of on edge.
And she is on edge because she's just very stressed about this
Yeah.
pregnancy already. Like
Yeah.
she mentions that she hasn't thrown up yet. You know, like with Violet, she was really sick and she could just like see that something is wrong here. So she's stressed. And
Yeah, she
Ben,
senses something's wrong with the baby.
And Ben, like, always in situations like this with her, he's probably like the most annoying husband. Just always responds with like a psychiatrist way of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's like, I'm like, stop doing that.
Which is very much like Nip Tuck. I feel like this is like between this and Nip Tuck and what was the other one? I forget. There was one more. It just feels like, I don't know. There's just like cookie cutters of some of these characters in some of these shows,
okay.
which I'm noticing already. Like treating the wife very clinically. So then we cut to Ben in a session with a new patient. This patient seems to have a fear of elevators, and she keeps having a dream where she keeps getting cut in half by an elevator.
Yeah, this was a cool little flash scene.
Yeah. This is the first time we see, and they do this a lot of times with Ben has different patients throughout the season that come to the house, and they show a cool, like, scary shot of whatever fear or problem they're talking about.
Yeah,
like the Piggy Man.
that's true.
Eric Stone Street, Modern Family coming soon. So Ben meets with this new patient, and she brings up the fact that this house is on the murder tour.
I know. This patient is funny. So her name, I later find out, is Bianca. And I've seen this actress and stuff, and she's like she gives me very 70s nature girl vibes, you know? And she like kind of talks slowly.
Dare I say Chloe Sevigny?
She wishes.
She wishes.
But
she comes in later.
Discount.
She takes.
Oh yeah,
this is pre-Chloe.
She has the hair.
Yeah.
So she is kind of she gives me like Manson vibes off the bat.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So yeah, he informed her that he didn't know that he was on the Murder House tour.
Yeah.
Which we'll later see, and I love when they just like randomly pop up and say shit.
Yeah. So the Murder House tour is just this tour in LA that people go on that to see different spots of famous LA murders. And she says, did the murder happen in this room? And she's referring to the nurse murder.
Yeah.
And he obviously didn't know about that. He thought she was talking about the murder that just happened with the gay couple that the realtor brought up. So now he knows there's been multiple murders in this house, including the burned guy's family.
True, because he knows about that.
Yeah.
And his family doesn't. True.
So, so he's very creeped out by finding out all this information, and, they wrap up their meeting. And then Ben calls Mrs. Langdon, and this is something I find interesting. So Ben calls Mrs. Langdon, Tate's mom, and says he can't treat Tate anymore because of the way, the interaction between him and Violet.
Yeah, of course.
And he can't, it's becoming too personal, and he just can't do it. So while he's on the phone with her, two things happen. Well, one thing happens, but I noticed another thing. Who is he talking to if he doesn't think it's Constance? Constance has too unique of a voice for it not to be like, that's who I'm talking to, Plus, she introduced herself as Constance Langdon, so now we know. We asked in the last episode, but now now we know that her and Tate have the same last name, so he has to know that she's the mother. But it seems like he doesn't.
Yeah, I was like, well, maybe she put on one of her actresses' voices.
Sure, okay, fair.
Maybe she did that. I mean, Langdon is Langdon, and that's like not a terribly common last name, but Ben is Ben, so he's probably just like, well, whatever. I don't even know.
Yeah. So while he's on the phone with Constance in a voice, I guess, we find out the elevator
she
girl
also has a different wig on while she's talking.
Just in case it was a FaceTime.
Wig and a big glass. It's just like, okay.
But we find out elevator girl hasn't left, so she's creeping around the house now, which is like, suspect. And while she's creeping into the kitchen, she takes a look at the cell phone that's on the camera on the counter, which is Vivian's cell phone.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like a call back. Don't show something we're not gonna see later.
Yeah.
And then Ben's like, "What the fuck are you still doing here? It's time to go." So he shoos her out, and she leaves.
Thank God that wasn't a grinder.
No,
and then the next thing we see is Constance cooking eggs. I was like, oh, we're cooking eggs. It's breakfast. It's not breakfast.
It's not breakfast.
We see
Twist.
the interior of her house, and it's very, I don't know, like
Trapped
housewife
in the 70s,
50s sort of thing almost. And even to the magazines that Addie is looking at, they're like old school magazines. I don't know. While she's flipping through these catalogs, Addie's like, well, why don't I look like these girls? And then Constance spews out stuff.
Yeah, she's like, why can't I be a pretty girl? And she says, you have other talents. And then she changes the subject. So we find out that Constance is baking, and she has Addie get her the Ipecac, which causes you to vomit and shit your brains out and bleed sometimes and shit like that. And then she tells Addie to spit in it. So we see that she's baking something for somebody that clearly is not going to like what they eat. So then we cut back to Ben, who is now jogging around the Echo Park Lake, which is not too far from me.
Okay,
we should
let's
go
go jogging
sometime.
there one day.
I mean, you can jog. I'll watch like with a hat and glasses from afar. But Ben's
Ben
jogging.
is shirtless, or not shirtless.
He's not
in
shirtless.
This scene. I just want you to know. So he's jogging, and then he starts crying.
Yeah, because he's thinking about Kate Mara, who is. We get flashes of this woman who's pregnant. We don't know that it's Kate Mara yet. We don't know that her name is Hayden, but it's Hayden, played by Kate Mara, who he's getting flashes of this Boston woman who's weighing on his mind. And he just starts crying, because Ben loves a good cry. And he cries in this tunnel, and somehow didn't notice that Dennis O'Hare's character was across from him, watching him. How Dennis O'Hare finds him constantly on these jogs, I don't know. He must hacked into his Apple Watch.
Ooh, that was a good one.
Oh, I did not write that down. That just came off the top of my head.
I'm glad that wasn't in your notes. Ben's an emotional man. You know what I mean? So he is keeping a lot in. And how did he not see Dennis O'Hare? I mean, he just always bumps into him when he's running.
Yeah.
So
he must be very healthy too. So this man gives him like a very poignant speech about, I don't know, like I don't know what he's trying to say. Like he's trying to make Ben feel okay, I guess. But like he's telling him basically to lie to make the other people feel better around him. So Ben takes the advice from this man who's been stalking him and killed his family. Like probably better people to take advice from. But basically Ben lies to Vivian and says he has to go to Boston to see a former patient who has attempted suicide. But really he's going to go to Boston to see Hayden.
And these scenes are happening kind of like simultaneously too. Yeah. At least towards the end of his conversation with the burnt guy.
Yeah, because Vivian calls him a good man, and we're like, bitch, you don't even know.
Like, no, he's not. I mean, there's something to be said about keeping a secret. I personally think that secrets are okay to have. But this is like a straight up lie and something that will ruin his life, because this girl has a straight up. Now he has 2 people who he's impregnated. He must have been taking arginine or something.
Which brings us to our sponsor this week, arginine.
Arginine. I was thinking we should just make fake commercials. I would totally do that.
So then we cut to Constance, who brings over some cupcakes for Violet. So we find out that the shitty cupcakes she was making are for Violet.
So he must have been talking to Constance, because then when Ben is talking to, Constance, he's like, I can't because he has an inappropriate relationship with my daughter. She's trying to kill the daughter.
Yes.
She's just not randomly trying to get out of it, or try to get her.
No, I didn't think that was the case. I think, she's just trying to get the daughter sick and possibly die so that Tate can keep seeing Ben and can be therapized. So this is the first inkling we get that Constance is Tate's mother, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question.
Because she doesn't want him to stop the therapy.
Because we didn't find that out of episode 1 yet, though.
No, we find it out in this episode.
Yeah, but at the very end, though. Yeah. So we're like, why is Constance trying to kill her?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. But if you put the last names together, you would know.
Well, do we even know their last names, though, as an audience member?
Yeah.
Probably. Well, we know Constance Langdon, but do we know Tate Langdon, too?
Yeah, because
I guess we do.
He calls and says Mrs. Langdon.
No, you're right.
Even if they don't say it, which I'm pretty sure they do, they say it there.
Well, let me tell you that these cupcakes are like the biggest cupcakes in the world. And they're not like fancy big. I know. They're not like fancy big cupcakes. They're just like thick. They're just like, you ever seen Good Burger?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Like the Mondo burger from the rival one.
Yeah.
That's what these cupcakes look like.
Or the cake from Matilda.
Yeah, exactly. Like someone put these cupcakes in an air fryer and they got all juicy. Anyways, that's just a stray observation.
Sure. Definitely need the cupcake take.
Put it in.
So as Constance is leaving, she senses that, and she just straight up says Vivian's pregnant.
I know, because she has a nose of a truffle pig.
She has the nose of a truffle pig. She will smell out your uterus. So Constance is like, can she smell anything else? Because she's worried about the baby. And Constance responds with,
Oh, Constance? I know this is a crazy question, but do you smell anything else about the baby?
2 sugars and a great deal of half and half. Are you worried about something in particular? I told you those are for Violet.
She's not going to eat both. We can split it.
Oh, I know. I love that she just kind of jumps into, like, they jump into the conversation together.
Because that's what she wanted. She wanted to be pulled into the situation because she knows what's going on, right?
Yeah, and Vivian needs to talk to someone who's not just going to, like, do what Ben does, basically. Yeah. She's isolated. She just kind of needs this, like, crazy neighbor.
Yeah. And this is also where we find a little bit more about Constance's family. We find out that she's had 4 kids, and 3 of them had some sort of disability, whether it be Downs or we find out later what some of the other ones had. But she had one kid who she says was her gift, but she lost that child to something else.
Yeah.
So this is them hinting at Tate. Which is her perfect child. He's the physical perfection or whatever she says, which he's hot, What are you going to do?
Get out of here.
And then Moira enters the scene. The whole time, though, Vivian also is trying to eat this cupcake, and she eventually doesn't. But Constance is trying to, like, don't fucking eat this cupcake. This is not for you or Ben or Moira. This is for Violet.
I know.
I'm trying to kill your daughter, not you.
I'm trying to kill, okay? God, stop trying to eat
She should have just made one.
This huge cupcake. So Moira comes in and they immediately start bantering with each other. It's like they can't be in a room together without just, like, throwing jabs at one another. Oh, my God. And then Ben comes into the fucking room too. Yeah. Ben sees sexy Moira, and then they're exchanging, and then they both leave, and he's like, "Is everybody crazy?" Like, shut up.
Yeah, man. They're also all dead. So Ben leaves for Boston, and then we have a cute scene with Vivian and Violet, which was supposed to be a cute scene, where Vivian's like, "Let's have a girls' night. Your dad's gone. Let's hang out." And
but Violet is mad.
Violet's mad. Angsty and mad.
Yeah, she's angsty. She's just in her bed. She's mad at her mom. And her mom kind of eggs her on to say, like, well, tell me how you're really feeling. Like, let it out. Say your mean things. And
she also brought the cupcake to her.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That cupcake was just, like, being passed around, like, insert gay comment here about Folsom Bottoms. And throughout the whole episode. So she calls her weak. Her mom is hurt. And, so
she also finds out that she's having a baby.
Oh, yeah, you're right. But Violet already knew.
Yeah, she's like, you've gained weight in your face, so bitch. Another insult to your mama.
And you stop drinking wine. Yeah. So come on, girls.
But then as Vivian's leaving, she has this conversation, and Violet kind of doubles down on how she treats her mom poorly.
Having a baby isn't going to keep you and Dad together if that's what you're thinking.
Wow, Violet, I am really appreciating your optimism on this. Really am. Come on, go ahead and say all your mean things.
I think you're weak.
Brutal.
So once Vivian leaves, brokenhearted, essentially, Violet puts the cupcake in the hallway.
Vivian goes downstairs then and wants to call Ben, obviously, because look at what her daughter just said. Their daughter just said. Mm-hmm. And then we see Ben drinking wine with his mistress.
Yeah, Miss Kate
as
Mara.
Vivian is calling
Hayden.
him, who is Kate Mara as Hayden.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that Kate Mara wasn't used more in the universe at all. Like
After
she
season
is
one.
in, she's in Nip Tuck.
Yeah.
And then after season 1, nothing.
Yeah, I'm surprised as well because
she's so good.
I mean, she went on to House of Cards right after this, so she was probably
But
taken
then-
by that, and then it just, I don't know, it just lost touch. I guess I don't know.
I would love to see her back. She plays an ill villain. You know?
Imagine Kate Mara and Sarah Paulson in the same season as main people. Oh my God, 2 villains.
Good.
Give
Should
us
we make a
that,
petition?
Ryan.
Yeah, come on.
Season
Make a petition.
12. So Ben and Hayden are talking. They're drinking wine. She says, "Put your fucking phone away." She's like, "I just need you till tomorrow," which is when she plans, I guess, to get an abortion. We don't. Did they say it in the scene? I couldn't really hear. It was hard to hear in the scene.
Yeah, you're right. It was hard to hear. Not really, but they keep referencing like, well, once tomorrow's over, you can go back to your perfect life. With
Yeah.
Viv. You know, like, so you kind of, it's alluded to, but not directly.
Yeah. So she just freaks out and she's like, "Stay off your phone. I just need you for these 24 hours." Like you can tell she's very crazy because she just starts breaking down, crying when he tries to answer the phone when Vivian calls. It's a whole thing. So he puts his phone away and focuses on Hayden, which is a decision he will regret.
It's a decision.
Because we're entering the end of the episode here, and let me tell you, things are about to pick up.
Things pick up so fast. It's like the last 20 minutes, and it's just like I was just typing so fast, like da 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 da. But so let's try to recap this. It's, so then Vivian's in bed watching an old scary movie.
Mm-hmm.
The doorbell rings, and then she goes downstairs, obviously, and she looks through the little hole, and she sees this woman there in the same sort of shot that we saw in the beginning as well.
This complete flashback to the opening. She has this fake blood on her head. She says she was hurt, but you can tell she's not as confident and put together as the original killer because Vivian's like, "What happened?" And she's like, "I'm hurt. Let me in." Like she doesn't have a plan. She thinks she would automatically be let in. So then she starts banging on the door, and then Vivian freaks out, and she tells Violet to go upstairs, lock the door, and call the police. Violet goes to her room. She looks for her cell phone because Vivian goes to call the police, and she realizes her cell phone is gone. And that's the shot that we call back to with the crazy woman who was looking at the cell phone when she was in the house. So Violet goes upstairs to grab her cell phone, and it's not there. And then we see behind her a man in all black and a ski mask emerges from her closet, which is another creepy shot. So then we realize there's masked people in this house with them, and they don't have their phones, and they can't call anybody, and it's just them.
The next thing we see is the 2 Harmon women wrapped up basically in chairs, and this is a very strong reference to The Strangers. Have you ever seen that?
Is that the one with You Were Home?
Oh yeah.
Why are you doing this? You Were Home.
Yeah. It's that one.
Yeah.
And it looks very similar. It's like, because standing in front of them are 3 mass assailants. 2 of them are women, 1 of them is men. Same thing with The Strangers as well. But they take off their masks. Mm-hmm. When they take off their mask, is the woman who is at the door. We
realize the patient is one of the women.
And then the patient, Bianca.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like obsessed with the murders that happened from this guy who, from the cold opening. And we learned that his name is Franklin, and he must have ended up being some sort of big serial killer, you know?
Yeah, they say that he was the first Manson. He kicked off the Manson-style murders that happened in the 60s. And they talk about how they killed Gladys in the bathtub in the house, and they're there to pay tribute to his psycho ass. So there's like they're basically telling them that they're about to kill them both. And before they can tie up Violet, she gets away, right?
Yeah, she gets away, and then Vivian falls at the same time.
Yeah, because she's already tied to the chair, and she's pregnant.
Like, oh no!
Don't fall.
I was like, every time she falls, I'm like, you're pregnant.
Yeah.
What? Anyways, so
spoiler.
Well.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, wait.
That was big.
Don't put that in. Sorry.
I'm gonna bleep it.
You know.
So when Violet runs away, she's grabbed by Tate in the hallway, and he says, "Get them to the basement." And it's like, why is Tate in your house? But then he disappears because then the guy comes and grabs Violet and then eventually ties her up to the chair.
And then when Vivian is downstairs with the other people, because this is when the scene gets real fast. This is like the ultimate American horror story. Like, one thing after the other. You're not allowed to breathe as an audience member.
And it's happening in different parts of the house at the same exact time. Separate from each other.
How the fuck? There's so many people and there's so many interesting things that happen. And this is part of the reason why I fell in love with this show is like scenes like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Because even
this
now,
whole sequence.
It's so overwhelming but it's still so scary. And I know the outcome, but I'm just like, oh, holy hell.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Vivian's downstairs with the one seemed like the leader. That's what I kind of like labeled her as. The one that was initially at the door.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Like
she's
she
down there
seemed
with
like
the guy.
leader. Yeah, she is. I will agree with you. Yes, and.
And the guy is trying to, he puts a cross on her because they're trying to recreate the whole thing. He wants her to dress like a nurse, yada, yada. And then Vivian sees Addie is in the house, too.
I know.
So then she starts saying,
Addie's just there.
She starts throwing hints to Addie as best she can without giving it away that Addie needs to go get help. So then the guy turns around and Addie's gone. So then they get ready for the tub. They want to drown. They're going to drown Violet in the tub, and they're going to stab Vivian, a la the opening scene murder.
Yeah, yeah. So Violet's upstairs with the leader here, and then she's fighting back. The Harmon, the whole time, both Harmon women are like not having the shit.
Yeah.
They're not just like weakly crying in the corner. They're like giving it back or trying to run away. So I love that side of their characters. So she's doing that with the leader, and then the patient, Bianca, comes in eating the cupcake. I was like, oh, God, you got the cupcake?
She left the cupcake in the hall, and that crazy bitch got it.
I was convinced that the dog was going to get the cupcake for whatever reason, but I was like, okay, good. I'm glad that she got it.
Yeah. So she starts feeling sick immediately from the cupcake and goes off to shit. And the lead girl with Violet says, this isn't even the real tub that woman was drowned in. The real tub is in the basement, trying to get them to the basement. So the girls, like, their whole thing is they want this to be authentic. So she takes Violet to the basement.
And then we get the most random but worthy shot of like basically Constance just going down, just touching some like really ripped guy, hot, dumb guy's body. Yep. And it is such a funny little reprieve, because it's so unexpected. We don't know much about Constance other than she's trying to, other than what she's given us. And then she just has like this man in her bed. It's like,
this sexy young like boy toy is hooking up with her, and they're dancing. And Addie starts banging on the door because she went over to try and get help. And Constance obviously doesn't want to be interrupted. I wouldn't either. That guy was sexy. So she puts her.
She gets interrupted twice.
Yeah.
Too.
So the second time she puts her in the closet, in the bad girl closet, which is what they call it, which is just a closet that is full of mirrors that makes Addie like look at herself, which we already know from the, before that she is upset that she's not a pretty girl. So she's pushed into the closet to face her insecurities, and this is the way that Constance punishes her.
And then she just starts screaming, and Constance kind of just Constance does it, but it doesn't not hurt her.
Yeah.
She has a primal thing that she's going to have sex with this man.
Yeah.
Addie can't be interrupting, but this whole scene of her kind of like stumbling back to her bedroom was needed, or else we wouldn't
have any.
And this seems very, very Carrie to me as well too, because then her mom locked her in that closet.
I was getting Mommy Dearest vibes too.
Yeah. Well, it's lots of references in this episode, and
that's
I
what
love
all
that
American
they
Horror
did that
Story
too.
is. But then we cut back to the crazy patient bitch who is now vomiting from the cupcake, and she goes to the bathroom to look for them, and we see Tate walk past quickly. So she goes to look to see who that was, and when she turns around, Tate fucking axes her to the stomach.
He just hits her with the axe, like he just
to the stomach
with the axe, and then we see her just kind of like going down the hallway doing like
she's
somehow
still standing.
She's
just
still,
spreading blood all over that antique wood.
I know, on that white wood. I was like, God, Moira is gonna have to scrub. Moira's used to it though. She's like, I know, it's okay.
This is my job.
So Vivian's still with the guy intruder downstairs, and then the whole nurse's outfit, you need to put this on exchange happens, and Vivian is still fighting. she asked to put it on herself, and
Yeah.
then he makes her get changed in front of him, but she's like, well, I'm gonna turn around.
Yeah.
You know,
I have dignity.
and yeah, she's just smart. She's like, fuck you still. So when she turns around, she somehow gets she gets in her hands that bowl.
Well, she starts eyeing things that she can grab to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And they
then
brought
she
a
finds that
replica
fucking bowl.
of the bowl that Franklin used in 1968, and she sees that. So, yeah, she grabs that and just starts smashing the guy's head in.
Which I was like, yes, get it.
Which
And
they added bone crushing sounds, but the guy was like still alive, and he was like, he comes back later,
Yeah.
you know. So
That's
but
true. That's true.
She basically knocks
but
him out with the
it's
bowl.
definitely a win. It's a win.
Yeah, it's a win. She got away.
And then Violet is downstairs with the leader in the basement.
Yeah.
And then Tate is in the basement too. And they so then there is a tub down there.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's just like ghost powers. But
I don't know.
Tate's like, this is the
How'd
tub.
they fill it? How is it not getting out?
There's water. There's water in the tub.
Ghost water.
I know. Yeah, I guess so.
So Tate's standing there, and the woman is like kind of happy because like the tub is there, but then like who's this fucking guy standing next to it?
Yeah.
Why is it already filled? Why is he helping us? And then she gets closer to the tub and she sees Gladys is in it.
I know.
Like
Spooky.
actual
goopy.
Gladys is in the tub, and she pops up, and the girl screams, and then we cut. And then we cut to Vivian and Violet reuniting in the house because Tate obviously got the one girl away. And the other girl was hit by an axe. The other guy's knocked out. So this is Violet and Vivian's opportunity to leave. So they're running down the street, and Constance is like looking out her window, watching them run in fear.
Well, Constance is post-sex.
Yes.
Just kind of watching the guys
Post-coital
sleep,
Constance.
And then she sees them running, and I think it's like so funny because Violet's in that like really cheap nurse outfit too.
Yeah.
Which kind of just like speaks to how these intruders are like, you know, crazy but not polished in any sort of way.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, they were not ready for this.
Cheapest. No, they were not ready for none of that.
And then, you know, the male psychopath sees the murdered nurses in the basement, the actual 1968 murdered nurses. And we assume that he also is going to die because he sees the two other women on the floor as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
so
the end of them three.
It's just all going so fast. It's just like, because then that guy just wakes up, he goes to the basement, bam, they pop up, and it's just like, okay.
Yeah. So there's some more dead people in the house. And then we cut to...
We don't know that as a viewer yet. We don't know the rules of what makes a ghost in this house.
Well,
yet.
I just mean that there's been more murders now in the house. There's 3 more murders to the list.
True. But remember, I guess we'll get into a little bit more.
Yeah, the rules of the
rules.
Yeah.
The rules of the house are like.
We learned that in the Halloween
first watched this,
episode.
like, what the hell is how does this work?
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So then, after they run away, Ben is at the clinic with Hayden.
Yeah, this is where we confirm that she's getting an abortion.
This clinic looks like a library. I just want to say, it just looks like a library. I'm like, that's so Boston.
It's supposed to be subtle.
When she goes goes back to see the doctor, he finally looks at her phone and he has 13 missed calls from Vivian.
Yeah. So
and
he runs
gets
out.
up and he runs out. And then meanwhile, we're back in the basement, and then we see Constance, we see Tate, and we see Moira looking at the dead bodies of the intruders.
Yeah. So we know that they are not new to this world. They are not new to this game. They are used to murder. They are used to, I mean, obviously we know, some of them have actually done it. They basically come up with a plan to make sure that the Harmons don't get caught, because Constance again solidifies in this scene that Tate says it, if they get caught with these dead bodies, then he won't be able to be therapized by Ben anymore.
I know.
And he'll also lose Violet, which is something he cares about. So they do a plan where Moira's going to get rid of the bodies and scrub it and bleach it, and, they'll never have to deal with it again.
But first off, iconic shot of all 3 of them.
Yeah, that is a great...
night of. Like, it is just like, whew.
I'm going to post that on our Insta.
Oh, okay. Ooh, good one. Yeah. Because then... it's like, I remember again watching it for the very first time. It's like, well, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
And I just kept on thinking, I'm like, is Constance a ghost? You know, like, is Tate a ghost, or is he just like a 90s neighbor that always just is popping in?
Yeah.
You know, I was like, what's going on with Moira? Why is she sexy Moira sometimes?
Yeah.
So it's just like to see all three of them together, and they're the most established sort of quote unquote ghosty characters.
Yeah.
Scheming, you know, and I'm just like, oh god, but what is going on?
Yeah,
you know?
This is where we start really getting into realizing that this is just as much about the house and the ghost within it as it is about the Harmons.
True. Oh, good one. That was great. Write that down.
Oh, bitch.
Okay, so then we're here at the morning after with Ben and Vivian talking to the police.
Yeah, this is the last scene of the episode.
So then the cops kind of point out to Ben that his last patient, Bianca, one of the intruders, was a fraud, and she like made up stuff, and that basically he's not doing his job as a psychiatrist, like kind of screening his patients. He's just like, I'll take anybody at this point.
He's like, is it a real patient or a fake patient?
Yeah.
Because this bitch, and then slides it forward. So they said that they found her cut up about a mile down the road. So what they think is, because they can't find the other guy and girl, so what they think is that she ran away and the other guy and girl killed her because they couldn't go through with it.
Sure.
And that's why they can't find any of the other two bodies. But really it was because Moira disposed of them. So
they also mentioned when they cut up her body like that since they're kind of like this tribute killer thing, that they think that it was a Black Dahlia sort of thing.
Yeah. So,
which is the first mention, and ironic.
Ironic, because we see that bitch later. Spoiler alert. So, so the cops are basically like, be careful, make sure your alarms are set, because we can't find these other two people, but we're looking. And then the cops leave with no suspicion that Ben or Vivian had anything to do with killing these people, which I don't know if that changes. I forget. But as of now, it doesn't seem like they're a suspect. Ben also finds out in this scene that Tate helped them, and they really couldn't have done it without Tate.
Really?
And
I really wouldn't have.
Ben is like, why was Tate in the house? And he's like, and Violet's like, it doesn't matter. You weren't in the house, and he was, and he saved us, so shut the fuck up. And then Violet, has a sweet moment with Vivian where she says,
Your mom said that you told her that Tate helped you escape.
Yeah. Thanks for not dragging him into all that.
What was he doing in the house?
How should I know?
Violet.
You think I let him in? I don't know why Tate was here. But I'm glad he was. You weren't. You were really brave, Mom.
Which she was.
Yeah. It was nice that she gave her a little compliment. And she really was. And And Vivian's really dazed out, she's kind of just like, obviously like traumatized, and Ben tries to comfort her, and he's like, oh, I'm glad I'm home now. And she's like, this is not home. Mm-mm. We're selling this house. Bam. Done. Boom. Done with the episode.
This is not home. We're selling this house. That's how the episode ends. I think I'm glad they did this in the second episode, because it got to a point where it's like, how are you all still living in this house, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's like, okay,
it's true. They have to address it. Yeah. Why they didn't?
Because too much shit's been going on here. All right.
Tell me about it.
But that's episode 2 of American Horror Story, Murder House, season 1. So good. So good.
So good. Peak Ryan. I mean, there's so many interesting references. There's strong themes of like sex and very violent episode too. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of blood.
Some homages to real cases and things like that.
Yeah, it's so them. I mean, it's a great second episode. Do we have the most Ryan Murphy moment?
I guess it would be like opening on a murder and then calling it back
I was
later.
Thinking that too.
You know what I mean? Like we open on this 60s music, and here's a fancy dancy murder based on a real actual murderer. And then we call back to that in the present day, which is with a Ryan Murphy twist on that murder.
Yeah. That's what I had down to, like that whole opening.
Yeah,
basically
the opening and then the tie-in with the end. I think is a very Ryan Murphy thing to do.
Ryan.
Problematic. I
don't think I really have one.
I don't have one that screams like something that we should call it out, because again, we're not going to call out, little things that obviously were problematic. More so like, we're trying to fix our how PC we're being on here, but you know the problematic moment when you see it. We all know what it is.
Yeah,
but we'll call out the bigger ones that need to fucking pull back. And I think I'm surprised that American Horror Story really hasn't had. I mean, obviously the way they treat Addie is going to be a theme.
Yeah.
But they don't do it in a way that's like strictly to poke fun at her. You know what I mean?
No, definitely
like they
not.
do for other shows. So I'm surprised because this is one of his earlier shows. So I'm surprised how kind of almost PC it is.
Maybe at least in this time of like horror genre, it's not like an well, no, you're wrong. I don't know. I guess it's not because horror has so many allegories for so many different things in any given genre. But it's just like right now, it's not.
Yep.
Maybe when you get to like Freak Show and they're like, "You're freaks," and then the freaks are like, "We're people." So, like maybe when they say shit like that, yeah, but for now it's not.
Yeah.
So no problematic.
So we have a lot of loose ends to tie up here. What's going to happen when Hayden comes out from the abortion and finds Ben not there? What's going to happen with the house? Are they going to move? What's going to happen with Tate and Violet? You know, what's going to happen with the girl with the Carmen Sandiego hat? There's a lot to unpack here and a lot moving forward. So I'm excited to continue American Horror Story.
Me too.
But next week will be Glee episode 3. And then we'll do American Horror Story episode 3. So that's what you can look forward to over the next 2 episodes. We'll be back to the Harmons sooner than you think.
Amen. And
Amen,
I can't
sister.
wait for that. So you can follow us at the Ryan Murphy Project on Instagram. You can follow Eric at I Hate Eric Wilson on Instagram. And what's your TikTok?
I don't.
Do you have one?
I have a TikTok, but I don't use it like that.
I just got on TikTok. It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
And you can
You're
follow
welcome.
me at. I know. Thanks. I finally got to Chihuahua videos.
Good.
So I laugh so hard at dog videos. Anyways, you can follow me at Mr. Andrew Leon on Instagram.
It's the third plug for your Instagram this episode.
No, it's not.
We'll
No, it's
see
not.
you guys next week.
It's the
Bye.
second.